Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be talking about what I learned from saving my first $10,000 and why I think it's a significant milestone worth talking about. In my last video, I talked about how I manage my money, and ultimately that video was about why it's so important to first get ahead in life so that you're not living paycheck to paycheck. But in that video, I really talked about several milestones as well, which were getting out of debt and saving an emergency fund, which really are debatable which one you want to do first, but both of those are significant milestones. This video is about what comes after that though, because I think once you are out of debt and have a little bit of an emergency fund, it's easy to start getting complacent and maybe even giving into temptation a little bit when it comes to the things you really want to buy that maybe you don't need. I think there's honestly this transitioning time from that $0 net worth to your first $10,000 that a lot of people make mistakes and don't end up ultimately getting to that $10,000. But today I'm here to motivate you and talk about why that first $10,000 is such a important milestone to reach. Like I said, a lot of people fall into temptation in this time period because you're out of debt, you have an emergency fund, and it's easy to start thinking, there's that item I've wanted for so long now, and I can afford it. And maybe it really is worth it to you. Maybe it just is. But I'm here to just put a thought in your mind, to not convince you of anything, but to have you ask yourself, is that item that you want and have wanted for so long? And I get it, I have things that I really want too. Visualize yourself in the future having saved $10,000. My question for you, what's more valuable to you? Is it that item, or is it possibly having $10,000 down the line? Okay, so that was the first thing I learned from saving my first $10,000 was I learned to stop giving in to temptation, and I learned to really think about if something was worth it to me or not. Okay, so the second thing that I learned from saving my first $10,000 was I learned to have a mindset of visualization, because I've done this time and time again now where, when you're getting close to that goal, that financial goal that you want, you begin to see it. It starts to become real. Even though you don't have it yet, your mind starts to act like you do. And when you're approaching your financial goal, your mindset starts to believe you already have it. And I don't mean in a way where you're like, oh, I have it so I can go spend money. I mean it like even deep inside your soul, you believe that you're going to reach that goal. When you save $10,000, you're going to see $20,000 and be like, if I can save $10,000, I can save $20,000. And when you get to 20, you're like, if I can save $20,000, I can save $50,000. And then that cycle is just going to keep going. And your mindset gets so good at visualizing that when you're on that journey, you already feel the next step. If you watched my video called My 4 Sources of Income, I talked about how I was able to save over $80,000 over a course of, a long period of time with those 4 sources of income. And I can tell you every step of the way, when I was at 20,000, I could see 30,000. Like it became real in my mind. When I got 30, I could feel $50,000. Right now, I'm in the mid 80s, and I'm telling you, I can feel 90. 90 is around the corner, and I can feel 100 is around the corner. I guess what I'm trying to say is so many people rob themselves the opportunity of that first $10,000, because if you can just sacrifice and get that first $10,000, it honestly teaches your mind to just keep striving and to keep going. I talked about giving into temptation and, not buying the certain things that you wanted for a long time. And I'll say this, this was years ago when I was working towards my first $10,000, but the things that I want now, that I'm way past that number, are totally different things than the things I wanted back then. There are a few things that I've wanted through the course of my life. You know, it's like certain hobbies and stuff that have always meant a lot to me that I think are worth spending money on. And I guess that's one way to decide if something is really valuable to you, is if over the course of time and time again, you still, want those things and they're still valuable to you. It teaches you what's really valuable in life. But again, I'll say this. Some of the dumb things I wanted when I was saving my first $10,000, I am now really glad I never bought those things, because guess what? It would have prevented me from being where I am right now. And ultimately, those things would have added no value to my life. And worst case scenario, you put off buying something you wanted. Well, now you have money in the bank. I think one of my weaknesses that I still have approaching $100,000 is, the fear of missing out. There's a dream car I want that it's probably going to be one of the last cars with the manual transmission. And I have to really weigh out opportunity cost. Is it worth me having that experience, or is it more worth me getting to my next financial milestone? And it's a question I have to ask myself, and it's a question you ultimately have to decide for you as well. Nobody else can decide that for you, what ultimately is valuable to you. Okay, the third thing that my first $10,000 did for me was it gave me a sense of pride, and it gave me a sense of independence. And I don't mean in an egotistical way, which, a side tangent, that's another lesson I have learned, is when I've developed an ego, especially around money, is when my finances start to go like really downhill. So I'm not talking about having an ego, but I'm talking about having a sense of pride in that you're independent, that you're building something that's going to stand the test of time for your finances. You're almost building a legacy for yourself. When I say legacy, some people are going to say $10,000 is not a legacy, but it is a start, especially for those of us who were raised in households where $10,000 was a lot of money. But anyway, guys, I don't know if this message was for everybody. I guess if it was for you, you'll know. And I hope if you're in that journey, this was thought-provoking, and I hope gave you some motivation to keep striving to have that financial freedom that we all want in our lives. I said it and I'll say it again. If you can get that first $10,000, you can get $20,000. And it's all just uphill from there. But that reminds me of, what are we on, number 4 now? That reminds me of a bonus number 4, okay? And that's that when you get your first $10,000, you're going to start really seeing the benefits of compound interest. Because as great as compound interest is, no matter how much money you have, even if you just have a little bit of money invested, when you only have a few $100s, that compound interest is, really small. We love it, but it's just really small. When you get to your first $10,000, you're not getting the compound interest that Warren Buffett makes, of course, but you're going to start seeing that compound interest actually making a difference and start building up a little bit faster and faster. And it's going to be really exciting and cool to see that. So yeah, compound interest is number 4. You're going to start to see that as well. If you guys made it this far in the video, thank you for watching, and let me know, do you think $10,000 is a worthwhile goal, or is that when you think it's okay to start splurging your money? What are your thoughts? Thanks guys, and I'll see you in the next video.